Right. Are we live? Maybe. Maybe I am, I don't know. Oh, let's move that. I don't need that anymore. I think we are. Good evening. Welcome to another Prime Minister's Questions response stream. I have done a literal zero research for this. I do apologise. Today's been a bit of a mixed bag as far as days go. There's been some good, got a new hoodie, and there's been some bad. We'll find out how bad later. There are a number of things I need to do this evening. So I thought I'd start early because I want to try and get this done so I can focus on something more important. That's not to say this isn't important, but in the grand scheme of things and everything. So hello Spoony McSpoonface, hello Bilbo, Adam, Judas, have we left yet? James, Great Sky Troll, Cyrene, Joe and Dibia. Hope you are all having a lovely evening. I did watch PMQ earlier. I did see vaguely what happened, but in truth, I was distracted. Okay, that's all I'm going to say for now. Hello, Joe. Hope your writing is going well and pain is abated. So let's just dive into this, see how we get on, because I don't really remember much past burning injustices, which is why the thumbnail has something about the legacy of the burning injustices. Hello, Neela. Let's do that. This one? No. Hang on, wait. Where's the video? Window capture was on. Oh, I know why. Okay. Well, let's close that. There we go. My apologies. One of the overlays apparently opened itself. Oh, I know why. I had to refresh Discord for something. Hello, Celestine. Hope everyone is having a nice evening. Yes, let's just dive into this.
Order. Questions to the Prime Minister. Alex Sobel.
Thank you. Question number one, Mr. Speaker.
The Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this morning I have spoken to Sir Kim Darroch.
He was the UK's ambassador to the US, who, after a memo or two leaked, decided to resign. Because in those messages, he gave a very frank account of what he thought of Donald Trump. Now, I should say, and I should have said this in yesterday's video, we are all, no matter what position we hold, free to say whatever we want about someone else. And I believe that also be to an extent of consequence. Because what he said was just his opinion based on what he observed. It's the same for anyone in any situation. It's not like he said to Trump, "Oh, you be dirty white man," with horrible spray tan. No, he called him inept and believed him to be highly unprofessional, but then that is a subjective turn of phrase depending on how you define professionalism, considering the nature of a occupation. Anyway, Trump didn't like it. Trump banned him from meeting the Emir of Qatar, and with about 3 months left on his ticket before he was going to retire anyway, he has chosen to take early retirement instead, which I think this might tarnish his record, maybe, but I don't believe it will harm him really. He's retiring after having a 42-year career in politics, serving in the EU and the UK's ambassador for the last 3 years. He got sworn in just before Trump was inaugurated. He's done all right, and this is the best way to fix any damage that may have been done by those leaks. I know the police have been called in. I know the police are investigating it. Hopefully they'll find the person responsible and they will be punished for leaking information that should never have been leaked in the first place. But to be honest, a president got offended by being called inept. Hello Lulybell, hope you're well.
I have told him that it is a matter of great regret that he has felt it necessary to leave his position as ambassador in Washington. The whole cabinet rightly gave its full support to Sir Kim on Tuesday.
many people actually chastised Jeremy Hunt for chastising Donald Trump. I think that, considering optics, was actually not the wisest thing for Hunt to do. Hunt should instead have focused on his campaign and distanced himself unless asked about it, and he wasn't asked about it. Less is more after all. Hello, Eddie Carter, hope you're well. And considering all the flack Trump gets and how well he handles that, sarcasm sign somewhere, hang on, it's just... Hang on, I've got it, it's here. Yeah, considering how well he handles it, yeah, it's just, it's a miracle he hasn't had a fight yet. Hello, Davey, hope you're well.
Sir Kim has given a lifetime of service to the United Kingdom, and we owe him an enormous debt of gratitude. Good government depends on public servants being able to give full and frank advice. I want all our public servants to have the confidence to be able to do that, and I hope the House will reflect on the importance of defending our values and principles, particularly when they are under pressure.
It's quite impressive how this this particular incident, and hello, space person, this particular incident has become such a talking point. I don't tend to care that Trump got offended. I'm more interested in why they got leaked and who leaked them. Because Trump was always going to get annoyed, let's face it. Apparently he didn't like the guy anyway, so like he needed an excuse to effectively do persona non grata.
Mr. Speaker, the whole House. Mr. Speaker, the whole House will want to join me in sending our deepest sympathies to the family and friends of Tammy Minshall, the student paramedic who was killed in a traffic accident last week whilst on duty. This is a reminder of the members of all our emergency services who risk their lives each day on our behalf. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Alex Sobel.
Got to say, it is quite refreshing to do one of these without a mountain, and I mean a mountain of virtue. Just the one thing, I can handle it, it's acceptable. Quite frankly, actually, it's a good one. But the virtue we usually get, it's national this, it's international that. I don't care.
I'd first like to associate myself with the comments regarding the tragic accident last week. I am pleased to see the Prime Minister is wearing green. I hope it is not merely a green wash, as I welcome the fact the government legislated for net zero by 2050. But before they did, when their target was weaker, the Committee for Climate Change already reported they were going to miss their target. And today, they said that the policy ambition implementation now fall well short of what is required. Targets helpful, but what we need is policies that actually deliver. Clearly, the Prime Minister wants to leave a climate legacy, so will she bring forward the ban on diesel and petrol cars from 2040 to 2030 or earlier? And when will she end her government's opposition to cheap onshore wind power?
That's actually a really good question. And notice, he didn't attack her green policy, he celebrated it, which I think is great. I did bother to look at the recent report. Yes, the government is not just well short. It was originally estimated at 6%. It's about, I think, 8 or 12 now. I do think if they really want to make a change, they're going to have to ban diesel a bit sooner. But I don't think they're actually going to. And, I don't know, Serene. Gordon Brown's still alive.
Prime Minister.
Well, can I say to the honourable gentleman that, in fact, we have an excellent record in relation to our dealing with climate change. As a government, we have outperformed on our first and second carbon budgets from 2008 to 2017. We're on track to meet the third, and the latest projections suggest we're on track to deliver over 90% of our required performance for the fourth and fifth carbon budgets, and we are the first major economy to legislate for net zero emissions by 2050. The UK is leading the world on climate change. I want to see other countries following our example.
The only reason why we can make it seem like it's remotely possible to do it, and hello Karma and Caitlin, the reason why is because we're such a small country. Yes, we do generate a fair amount of emissions. However, we are a tiny country. Other countries, hello Quacks, other countries that have, let's say, larger coal industries are going to struggle to shut down the coal industry and have a suitable replacement. if you get my grand point anyway. We do a lot in this country, certainly on recycling. We are certainly way ahead on that. I do vaguely recall every weekend I'm going through the recycling bin to make sure it's in the correct bin. It's ridiculous. But at the same time, it's fantastic to know that you're doing something right. Making sure you, instead of using plastic bags at the shop, or those now biodegradable ones, because they cost money, use a bloody tote bag like any normal person would that saves them money. Or have their food delivered to them. I mean, you're not having to pay for a carry bag at that point, are you? Anyway.
Jack Brereton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. North Staffordshire used to have one of the most extensive rail networks in the world, but now often people in Stoke-on-Trent have to rely on their cars. Would the Prime Minister join me in my petition to reopen Mere Station in my constituency as the next step to improving our local transport?
Well,
Before she answers, has anyone noticed how absolutely barren those benches are? That is damning. You know? Yeah, anyway. Nuclear energy. Oh, don't. So many people... Okay, so let's say a couple decades ago, they'd protest whenever there was one because they'd be like, what about the waste? What about the waste? And then obviously that was proven to be fine. Now it's fracking. And yes, fracking does cause some problems. I do think more needs to be done. First of all, to educate the public about what fracking actually is, as opposed to the pamphlet they get. That I've read, it is quite vague. They make it seem like it's not, but it actually is. They've gone off to cheer on Boris. Well, it's unlikely he'll lose, but you never know. We may well get Jeremy Hunt.
can I say to my honourable friend, I know he's been campaigning on this issue for some time. I know he's met ministers to discuss this. I understand that this is in an area that's about to benefit from refurbished modern trains on the Crewe to Derby line from December of this year as part of the new East Midlands Railway franchise. In relation to the station at Mere, the Department for Transport will have heard my honourable friend's call to reopen the station, and I know that he will continue to campaign on behalf of all his constituents.
Got to love a local question for local people. Not going to complain because I like trains. I want a train set. Hello, Peter Edwards. Hope you're well indeed. No modesty, it is haram. And hello, the memes of destruction.
Jeremy Corbyn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I too regret the resignation of Sir Kim Darroch. I think the comments made about him are beyond unfair and wrong. I think he's given...
I think that the only reason he's saying that is because the person who said them was Donald Trump. Hello, Sore Arm.
An honourable and good service, and he should be thanked for it, and I think the whole House should join together in deeply regretting the feeling that he's obviously got that he must resign at this moment.
Actually, I think it's more about optics, because no doubt the Prime Minister's office would have reached out to him to protect the relationship with the US, to ask him to resign, which is what is quite common in these particular political circumstances. Just saying. It's not a case that he chose to. He was forced to. Titan Jedi. Another live Omegon. Don't understand much, but hello. Hope you're well. I don't know why I just waved. I really don't know why.
I also joined the Prime Minister in passing condolences to the family of Tammy Winchell, who died as part of our emergency services, giving service to people. Mr. Speaker, many people welcomed the powerful points the Prime Minister made when she was first appointed about burning injustices in Britain.
Social justice. Oh, and tackling the racism and the Islamophobia, and anti-Semitism, because apparently that's not the same as racism. There's a lot of it. Oh, and poverty, unemployment. There is more, I'm sure, but I can't be bothered to remember them. Hello, Keeper Remus Game Guide, and W.R. Corsten. Hope you're all well.
Does she agree with me that access to justice is vital in order to tackle burning injustices?
Prime Minister.
Can I say to the right honourable gentleman that there are many burning injustices that can be tackled in a variety of ways, and that is the action that I have taken, not just as Prime Minister, but also as Home Secretary. And I'll give him one example: the race disparity audit, which shines a light on inequality in public services. A race disparity audit which shines a light on inequality in public services is enabling us to put into place action that helps to ensure that people across this country, whatever their background, will ensure that they have access to the public services they need.
Corbyn.
Mr. Speaker, this year marks the 70th anniversary of the Legal Aid and Advice Act. That act, introduced by the post-war Labour government, gave all people access to justice, not just the rich, and was an essential pillar of a welfare state and a decent society. The Tory Lib Dem coalition slashed legal aid in 2013.
They had no choice, they had to. Also, hello, Functional and Mini Lisper. There is a distinct lack of anal beads, yes. I do know a little bit about this legal thing, but not much. I'm sorry, I really couldn't be bothered to look into it. I was a bit distracted.
And the results are clearly very unfair. The number of law centres and other not-for-profit legal aid providers has more than halved. There are now legal aid deserts across the whole country. Does the Prime Minister think that has helped or hindered the fight against burning injustices?
Hang on. Are you equating the lack of legal aid to burning injustices, but you've not specified what a burning injustice is? You're also implying that without the legal aid, that person can't win. They can. You're also saying that because they don't have legal aid, or because they don't have access to free legal aid that's not for profit, that somehow they won't be able to, what, get any help or get a victory on the premise that they are a victim in the first place. It's a bit weak. I don't like vague questions. I like trains.
Prime Minister.
The point that I was making to the right honourable gentleman, and that he seems to fail to recognise, is that the whole question of burning injustices is not about just access to the legal system. The question of dealing with burning... It's all very well members of the opposition benches from shouting about this. If the Labour Party actually really cared about burning injustices, they'd have done a darn sight more when they were in power to deal with them.
I should point out... Hello, Teddy. I should point out... Okay, so... And I have to point this out every damn week. The Labour Party complain that money was taken away from services, forgetting why it had to even happen in the first place. And anyone who is a Labour supporter that is completely belligerent, blind, stupid, obnoxious, arrogant, completely blind to the very idea that you had to have services cut to pay the debt that was left behind. Why so many people suffered and still suffer because of that mistake. And yeah, there are people living it up. Good for them. I don't care. I care about me, not everyone else. And hello, Director Greyhound. My view is, you guys on your side in the opposition benches, you had 13 years and you tanked this country's economy. You sunk it better than the iceberg did the Titanic. More people suffered because of you guys, because of your reckless behaviour. Your economic policy was essentially to print money with a printer, not from the actual bank. You basically went and raided all the toy shops for the Monopoly boards, took the money and threw it at anyone. You borrowed money with guilt to the tune of debt interest that was so high that it's taken an incredibly long time to correct. And I know you, Mr. Corbyn, didn't actually support that, and many of your front benchers weren't even politicians when this happened. And yes, sort of, they are equally worthless. But they got the debt interest down, and they had to hurt a lot of people to do it. So they've at least tried to do something right.
Jeremy Corbyn.
Mr. Speaker, some people have very short memories. It was
Yes, you do.
the Tory... It's all right, it's okay. It's all right, it's okay. The Tory Lib Dem coalition cut legal aid, but also brought in fees for employment tribunals. The then Minister for Employment Relations, the Honourable Member for East Dunbartonshire, piloted that through the House. But since that time, my union, Unison, took the government to court and won, and as a result, employment fees were cancelled. The cuts to legal aid affect people, Mr. Speaker, like Marcus. Like Marcus, a 71-year-old on pension credit, a leaseholder who is threatened with being evicted. And he says, and I quote, "I've paid taxes and national insurance all my life. How is it right that I'm being bullied and threatened with homelessness? The state won't protect me." And he goes on to say, "I've been working to 2 a.m. every night for the past 6 months, collecting evidence. I've got no idea if I've prepared my evidence correctly." Doesn't Marcus, trying to save his own home, deserve legal aid to get proper representation in a court and be fairly heard?
I should say, yes, he should, but I don't know enough about this case to be able to comment past that, to be fair.
Minister!
To the right honourable gentleman. Obviously, I recognise the concerns that Marcus has about taking his case. But the right honourable gentleman might reflect on the fact that a quarter of the Ministry of Justice's budget is spent on legal aid. We spent £1.6 billion on legal aid last year. We're committing to ensuring that people can access the help they need into the future. But that is only one part of the picture. We've published a plan for legal support to maintain and improve access to support for those in need. And we're conducting a fundamental review of criminal legal aid fee schemes, which will consider criminal legal aid throughout the life cycle of a criminal case. So there are aspects of this issue that we are indeed looking at. But I think it is important that we ensure that we are careful with the provisions that we make for legal aid. And as I say, a quarter of the Ministry of Justice budget is spent on legal aid.
I don't know much about whether or not the quarter of the Ministry of Justice's budget is in fact a good thing or not, based on inflation and how far money stretches. Hello, Wandering Lisa. Yes, she is still here, and she will be until, actually, I believe her last PMQs is next week, because the one afterwards will be with whoever is chosen as the next Prime Minister of the country, which I am looking forward to, because if it's Hunt, it's going to be absolute tragedy, and if it's Johnson, it could be anything.
Jeremy Corbyn!
Mr. Speaker, just so everyone's aware of it, Labour is committed to restoring legal aid funding for family law.
Look, it's all well and good posturing that you'll put more money into something. What I want to know is where you'd get the money from. Mr. Corbyn, you have a tragic view on the economy. Your view is more money, spend, spend, spend. That's your view. But where the money comes from scares me. It scares me because, as someone who's self-employed, I can see myself having the tax bar lowered just so you could end up getting more money from me. I can see my business being taken away from me and given to a big company because it would be cheaper for them to hire that person. And then you wouldn't get the tax from that company anyway, because you'd have to give them a tax break. The idea of you as Prime Minister scares a lot of people because you, like the last Labour Prime Minister, not Brown, the one before, Mr. War Criminal, have zero understanding of economics. And hello, Globus Hystericus. Hope you're well.
For family law, for housing, for benefit appeals, for judicial review preparation, for inquests and real action on immigration cases.
So how is this, just for the sake of it, some of that qualified, I guess, if you think about it long and hard. How did the majority of it, though, qualify as burning injustice? I thought that was the theme.
And as we announced yesterday, we will end the leasehold scandal.
Okay, so I do tend to agree with that one, actually. The leasehold scandal is the one where people are buying houses but still paying rent for the privilege of using the land, which then the rent on it will go up about doubles, I believe, every 10 years or something, and it gets worse because nobody can sell the properties and the rent rate will stay as high as it was. I do tend to agree that needs abolishing. It is an absolute tragedy, absolute scandal, and needs to be destroyed quickly.
The Department of Work and Pensions is failing disabled people. The Ministry of Justice spent tens of millions of pounds each year defending appeals, over 2/3 of which were won by the claimants. Rather than spending millions defending incorrect and often immoral decisions, wouldn't that money have been better used increasing poverty-level benefits and providing legal aid to disabled people wrongly denied their basic dignity?
Minister!
I'm not going to take any lectures from right honourable gentlemen on what this government has done for disabled people. We are committed to tackling the injustices that are facing disabled people, so everyone can go as far as their talents will take them. Our spending on support for disabled people and people with health conditions is at a record high. We
That doesn't mean the quality's better, by the way, I just like to point it out.
are seeing many more people, over 900,000 more disabled people in work as a result of what this government has done.
Oh, I know people in my chat who do not like that for 1 second, but I should say there are plenty of people who are disabled. Hello, we are here. That are able to work, want to work, do work. But there are some that want to work, can't get a job. Just saying. And she's right not to take lectures from him, because he's done nothing really. He's only been opposition. She has done things to an extent. And she can at least brag about that, I guess, or flex. Flex on the haters, perhaps, is that it? Hello, space person again.
But if the right honourable gentleman is really interested in tackling injustices...
Oh dear. Right, so this is the part where PMQs devolves, descends, and kind of... yeah. Also, I did see it in the chat. I'm going to scroll up for it because it was quite funny. Burning Injustice, where is it? Burning Injustice is like having a one-night stand and getting a clap. Was that it? Because I remember seeing it. That was quite funny. I like it. Oh yeah, Burning Injustice is having a one-night stand and, well, they give you the clap. Love it.
then the biggest injustice he should tackle is in his own Labour Party and deal with anti-Semitism.
This being a direct reference to a number of MPs, obviously we know about those, but more recent, Kate Hoy, she is resigning and she has called out anti-Semitism, as have a number of members of Labour's House of Lords members, because they believe Labour are not doing enough. And there's more to that, actually. I saw a news article earlier. Oh god, hang on, I'll have to quickly go and pull it up. Oh yeah, top Labour figures interfered in anti-Semitism disputes. I will link this in the chat for anyone who's interested. Hello, Living the Dream, because I think this is quite interesting. I was going to do a video on it, but I'm going to focus on a different thing for the Labour Party for Moisky Reads tomorrow. But this does cement more proof, to an extent. It has yet to be actually conclusively proven that the Labour Party is even meddling within its own investigations into anti-Semitism. Oh dear, oh dear.
Mr. Speaker, my party is totally committed to eliminating racism in any form, anti-Semitism in any form. And while she is about the lecturing, how about the investigation into Islamophobia in her own party?
Order!
Nice deflection. Ooh, we're committed to dealing with racism and anti-Semitism. Same thing. We're committed to dealing with that. Does nothing and has proof of interfering with their own investigations. Now, what are you doing about the Islamophobia in your own party? Even though one of your leading candidates at one point to be Prime Minister was Muslim. Oh, and that .gov petition. Yeah, not .gov. It was .gov, wasn't it? The stupid YouGov petition that had a horrific sample pool of people saying they wouldn't want a Muslim Prime Minister within the Conservative Party. Sample size of what, 50 people? It's just, I don't know. There are less reports on Islamophobia, even though it's not really a thing. Hello, Kayla O'Brien. I don't tend to agree there is Islamophobia in the Conservative Party, but there are incidents like the similar, I would say, actually I should clarify. There are incidents in both parties that have taken place that do qualify by many people's standards to be either Islamophobic or anti-Semitic. I could debunk the majority of them, because that's easy to debunk. There are some that don't get through, because they're bad. That doesn't mean the party is a problem, much like I would say the Labour Party. In reality, there are members of the party and members themselves that do have anti-Semitic views, yes. And I'm sure there are within the Conservative Party. Does that mean the party has a problem? No, it means there are members that have issues that need to be dealt with, because they're antiquated and really, really stupid. I do think, with her leaving, there's nothing she can do really. But he's been in that chair for about, 4 years? And he's done jack. Because many people believe he's cozied up with those who are themselves anti-Semitic. And yes, the public's anti-government prejudice, anti-shit, yeah. I may have made a bit of a word salad of all of that. I'll simplify it. Do I think Labour and Conservatives have issues with religion? Maybe.
Order, Mr. Bowie. You are as noisy as your illustrious late namesake David Bowie, but sadly, nothing like as melodic, my dear chap. Jeremy Corbyn.
Mr. Speaker, one lecture she might not want to take from me, but she might care to listen to what the United Nations said when they, and I quote, condemned the UK government for its grave and systematic violations of the rights of disabled people. The Windrush
Does anyone listen to the UN?
scandal has resulted in the government having to allocate £200 million in compensation to
Yep. Understandable, really. Records were lost. Found later, but still, people were put through the ringer.
people wrongly deported from this country.
Yeah, remember this, because Theresa May's answer, I remember it now, it's quite interesting.
Denied services and their lives totally pulled apart. People have given their life to this country and our services. Does the Prime Minister think that scandal would have happened if legal aid had not been slashed by the government, so many of those people were denied any representation in court?
Some of those people didn't go to court.
Well, the Right Honourable Gentleman
Prime
here
Minister.
really needs to think rather more carefully about his arguments. Let's look about the issue of people in the Windrush generation. I've apologised for what happened to people in the Windrush generation. I've been very clear that they are British, they are here, they have a right to be here, and these should not have happened. We've apologised for the mistakes that are here, they have a right to be here,
sorry.
and these should not have happened. We've apologised for the mistakes that have been made. But he raises issues about people who were incorrectly deported. The initial historical review has found that there were around 11,800 detentions and removals, which they looked at. They identified 18 people who were most likely to have been wrongly deported or removed. Of those, 6 were removed or detained under the last Labour government. And I say to the Right Honourable Gentleman, the way he talks, you would think he was a man of principle. But what do we actually see from him? Labour policy is to ban non-disclosure agreements, but his staff have to sign them.
We know this because it was all over Twitter 2 days ago. Bit of hypocrisy from his party. Wants everyone to sign NDAs, but doesn't like them, or wants to ban them unless it suits him. But that's not surprising, really, is it, for someone who wants to be a totalitarian?
He was an anti-racist, now he ignores anti-Semitism. He's been a Eurosceptic all his life, now he backs Remain.
I'm going to make a video on that tomorrow. I promise I'll get to it. Goodbye, Neela. Thank you for joining us.
He's truly living up to the words of Marx. Those are my principles, and if you don't like them, I've got others. Not
The reason people are cheering is because Jeremy went to get up. He got quite cross. Not surprised. Oh, and he's going to go off script in a second, and you'll tell.
I know the Right Honourable Gentleman's keen to get to the dispatch box when the name Marx is identified. I was merely going to point out to him those were the words not of Karl, but of Groucho.
Hello, Skog. Oofed. Yes, indeed.
Jeremy Corbyn!
Coming from the Prime Minister who created the hostile environment
For illegal immigrants.
which brought about the Windrush scandal,
No, a loss of records did that.
who ordered go-home vans,
Well, it was aimed at illegal immigrants, so yeah. I will say they're bad optics, yes.
ordered go-home vans to drive around London,
Well, that's where most of the illegal immigrants were hiding. They weren't exactly hiding in the middle of Gloucester.
who refuses to acknowledge Islamophobia in her own party,
Prove it.
and whose party consorts with racists and anti-Semites in the European Parliament.
That's interesting, to accuse the government of consorting with anti-Semites within the European Parliament, but you're the one that's so desperate to get back with them, and I will address it tomorrow. Hello, Ray Deal. Yes, the background reeing is, delicious.
And sucks up to those governments across Europe.
Oh, how dare they, says the guy who wants to remain.
We don't need those kind of lectures. One
Hello, horny hippos.
legal aid firm, Mr. Speaker, one legal aid firm said, we see more people more desperate and in more extreme need than they were 5 years ago. There is nowhere to send them. Those people are invisible to the system. This is a denial of people's basic rights. The UN says legal aid cuts have overwhelmingly affected the poor and people with disabilities. Without equal access to justice, there is no justice. Today, in modern Britain, millions are denied justice because they don't have the money. Isn't that a disgrace? Isn't that a burning injustice?
Prime Minister!
Hello, Maggie Rose, and hello, although somebody else, One Little Alex. And citizens pay taxes in part for this? No, we don't pay taxes for this. Nah. Okay, maybe we do a little.
Right Honourable Gentleman, he may do his best to ignore the anti-Semitism in his party, but I think he should listen. I think he should listen to the words of the former Labour Party General Secretary, the noble Lord Treesman, who said, "We may one day be the party of anti-racism once again, but it certainly isn't today." He has asked questions about injustice. Let me tell him about an injustice. It's an injustice when you force people who are working hard day and night to earn an income for their family, to pay more taxes because of a Labour Party economic policy in government that has led to the destruction of our economy. What do we see from the Labour Party? You earn more, they want you to pay more tax. You buy a home, they want you to pay more tax. You want to leave something to your children, they want you to pay more tax. Labour's £9 billion family tax. Labour used to have a slogan of education, education, education. Now it's just tax, 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 injustice, injustice.
Hello, Sir Blue-Footed Booby, and goodbye, Jane. And I'm enjoying this drama. It's entertaining. I'm skipping this. Let's move on to the Paper Fiddler, because it was a question about Scotland. I don't care. But we're going to go to this guy instead, because, seriously, Paper Fiddler is interesting.
Ian Blackford!
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I must say, every time the Prime Minister speaks in Scotland, our vote goes up. Mr. Speaker.
If that were true, there wouldn't be more Scottish Conservatives in that chamber right now. You know, because that last general election did you guys so much good.
Mr. Speaker, today is Srebrenica Memorial Day. And I trust that everyone in this House will want to recognise the unbelievable sacrifice that so many faced. Yesterday I met some of the survivors of genocide, and we must do all we can to make sure that we call out the genocide deniers, that we learn the lessons from man's inhumanity to man that we witnessed in the continent of Europe, and never again should this happen in Europe or anywhere else. Can I join with the Prime Minister in her words to Kim Darroch? And it's a pity that the former Foreign Secretary, the candidate for leadership of the Tory party, did not stand up for our leading diplomat in the United States yesterday.
Wait, you have a diplomat?
And lastly, Mr. Speaker, can I also pay tribute to Winnie Ewing, who has her 90th birthday today. The only parliamentarian to sit in this House, in the Scottish Parliament and in the European Parliament. We remember the words of Winnie, "Stop the world, Scotland wants to get on." Mr. Speaker, Mark Carney has said that the
Davy, I lied.
UK economy does not appear to be growing. Danny Blanchflower, one of the few to predict the financial crisis in 2008, has said the early evidence suggests that the UK is already in recession. Mr. Speaker, the dark clouds of Brexit are with us. Will the Prime Minister continue to ignore all the warning signs of recession?
The warnings, hello TC, the warning signs have been going on for a while, and Carney really should keep his mouth shut. He shouldn't be injecting himself into politics. He should instead be just doing his job. He should warn, yes, but it shouldn't be something that is basically tweeted out. As far as recession goes, growth at this time, the first quarter especially, is always slow. The second quarter takes a while to catch up. Yes, so Blue Fitty Booby, it's a new goal. I thought I'll be cheeky because it's very rare to find that particular type. Since I'm left-handed, especially so.
Minister!
First of all, can I say to the Right Honourable Gentleman, in relation to Srebrenica, I absolutely agree with him. We all must, we hope every time we see a massacre of this sort, we hope that humanity will learn from it. Sadly, all too often we see that is not the case. I was at the Western Balkans Summit last Friday in Poland, working with the countries of the Western Balkans, encouraging them and working with them to find peaceful ways of working together so that we can ensure that those countries see political stability and prosperity for their people in the future. The Right Honourable Gentleman then talks about the state of the UK economy. Well, I'm very pleased to see that we actually have the best record in the G7 in terms of growth. We have the longest quarterly period of growth of any of the countries in the G7. We also, I have to say, to the Right Honourable Gentleman, we have record numbers of people in employment, a record low in unemployment, and investment in our economy. This is an economy that is doing well, but it could really take off, and it would have done if the Right Honourable Gentleman had actually voted for Brexit and voted for the deal we put for this House.
Even though he doesn't agree with leaving in the first place. Hello, Zemgoer. Let's go with that. And Davey can't be bothered to turn his axe upside down. No, I can't be bothered to turn it upside down because I'm left-handed. I literally cannot play right-handed.
Ian Blackford!
Mr. Speaker, perhaps we can look at the facts. Record food bank use.
So?
Ernst & Young tell us that the Brexit bill so far for financial services companies alone is as much as $4 billion.
Yeah. So?
Foreign investment projects into the UK have dropped 14%. The lowest
But there's still investment coming into the UK, right?
level in 6 years. Car production fell 15.5% in May, the 12th...
Yeah, but the car sector has been going down for a while. Many of them wanting to pull out because of Brexit, but others because it would be cheaper or because the sales aren't high enough.
Straight month of decline. UK retail sales have experienced their worst June on record.
Yeah, online sales kind of trump that.
The near stagnation of the services sector in June is one of the worst performances seen over the past decade. We have the evidence, Prime Minister. Your legacy will be driving the UK economy over the cliff into another recession.
Titan Jedi, I like your dad. As far as what he's saying goes, I can't verify the facts. I'm sorry. But as far as I'm aware, it's nonsense.
Hasn't this Prime Minister sacrificed the jobs and livelihoods of people across the UK in order to please her Brexiteer backbenchers? Take no deal off the table and take positive action to restore confidence in the economy.
How about you stop fiddling the paper and focus on the fact that the country, well, the entire union of the United Kingdom voted leave, and therefore you must respect that vote. Can you imagine this, right? Scotland's in the EU, and they don't get the result they wanted that would benefit Scotland. They're just going to stand up and pout the entire time. They won't be well represented either, because they're a tiny nobody country, and they probably only have 4 or 5 seats. Meaning their voices will be drowned out by everyone else being like, "You do as you're fucking told."
The blame for any recession will lie at the door of this Brexit-obsessed government that is incapable.
Not Brexit-obsessed government. Government obsessed with enacting the will of the people.
Capable of doing the D job.
Minister!
Well, the Right Honourable Gentleman talks about the car industry. I'm sorry that in referencing a car industry, he didn't reference the fact that in the last week we've seen the announcement by Jaguar Land Rover that they're going to manufacture electric vehicles in Castle Bromwich, preserving 2,700 jobs at the plant. We've also seen BMW announce they're going to manufacture the electric Mini in their Oxford plant, preserving 5,000 jobs in that plant. The Right Honourable Gentleman knows that he could have taken no deal off the table by voting for the deal.
Cringe. Thank you, Karma. That's very kind of you.
But if he wants to talk about economic forecasts and the future of economies, perhaps he should give a little more reflection on the fact that the forecasts for Scotland show that its economy will grow slower than the rest of the United Kingdom over the next 4 years under an SNP government in Scotland.
I'm bored of this already. That's pretty damning stuff. I didn't know about the Jaguar thing, so I can't really comment much on that. I think I'll go back here now. I will, after this, I will go and get some sources and link them in the description down below if anyone's interested, who watches this on playback anyway. I'm now going to have to disappear because I've got something I have to do. Something very important. There will be a video on this channel tomorrow about the Labour Party essentially backing Remain. There's more to it than that. I will cover it, and I'll be streaming Euro Truck on the game channel, I think, tomorrow if things go to plan. So, yeah. Thank you all very much for joining, and thank you for the donation. I really appreciate it. And have a nice evening.